We do have to move on to another story, and this is more political. And Paul, this has to deal with Senator Bernie Sanders endorsing one of the governor candidates of Michigan. So what's going on over there?
Yeah, so I wanted to highlight this. I'm originally from Michigan. I know there are a lot of Chicagoans who have made their way down from the Great Lakes state. And so you may be interested in this. A lot of people may still have family up in Michigan. It's an interesting governor's race. The primaries right now... so this is Abdul al-Sayed. He's running in third place in the primaries. The sort of centrist Democrat, establishment Democrat, sort of leading the race with about 30% of the vote. And then just ahead of al-Sayed is a guy that is posing as a progressive, but people are really wising up to his antics. Basically, he's a self-funded billionaire who's basically asked his team, should I run as a Democrat or a Republican? Which one will win? Like, he doesn't have an ideology behind what he's doing. But this guy does. Abdul al-Sayed. He has he's a Justice Democrat, style, brand new Congress style, Bernie-crat, that basically is running on Bernie's platform. $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, tuition-free public colleges, all of those things that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez campaigned on, Bernie campaigned on, and he's the real deal.
Well, I got a quick question. So you mentioned Justice Democrats and brand new Congress have endorsed him. Does that also mean Our Revolution and DSA has also
I haven't
support him?
seen anything specifically on DSA.
But since he got Bernie's endorsement, it's safe to say that Our Revolution is backing him, since it is basically his group, even though he doesn't control it specifically.
Yeah. So, I have to say this would have to be a huge boost for his campaign for governor. And now he's got Senator Bernie Sanders' endorsement. I mean, anytime Senator Bernie Sanders endorses a candidate, let's say, take, for example, Team Chewy, for example. There was Cook County Commissioner Jesus Chewy Garcia, who's running for Congress. Then there was Alma Anya, Aaron Ortiz, and they got the endorsement, including Fritz Kagi as well. So, they also got Our Revolution. There was that big event at the Apollo 2000 Theater that was here sometime before the end of the primary here in Illinois. So when Bernie Sanders showed up, people showed up, and then people also turned out to vote for those particular candidates. So I wonder what's going to happen to that second place candidate, whether he's going to lose his quote-unquote base and they're going to go for the third place candidate.
But what's happening on top of Bernie being there is he's there with Alexandria. So what seems to be happening is it's going to be kind of like as these primaries go in, you're going to have certain really good Democrats, that have been backed by a Revolution, Bernie Sanders, etc. They're going to win their primary, and it seems like they're going to kind of join the entourage, shall we say, that is starting to exist again. Now it's Bernie and Alexandria. So if Brett wins, he's in Ohio in his primary, I'm sure that'll happen. And they seem to all be kind of grouping together.
And then what's his name in Kansas? Welder?
Yeah.
Brent, I
think that might be the guy I'm talking about.
That's who you're talking about.
So, but the point is that that's a new strategy I've not seen done in politics either, where it's not just one person says I'll endorse. It's like a group of people with a certain ideology endorsed. So in this case, we have this governor candidate that's being endorsed. Alexandria was also there with him doing this endorsement. And so the more people they can kind of get together, the more attention they can give to a single candidate, which makes the endorsement even stronger.
Well, this is a pattern that we're sort of seeing with this brand of politician, is coming into a race with very low name recognition, but a real strong ground game, and campaigning on the policy, campaigning on the platform, and that got Bernie Sanders very close to the nomination in 2016. It did get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's nomination. She was a relative unknown prior to, in the run-up to that election, and the same thing could play out here as we get closer to that election day and people start looking a little more closely at their candidates. Someone with a funny Arab name like al-Sayed may be able to stand the test and win the nomination. It's possible. It could gain steam. If he did win, he would be the first governor candidate in the United States to be a Muslim ever.
And that'd be really interesting, since the work that I was doing way back when in Flint, the state is actively, the governor of the state, Rick Schneider, is actively trying to turn a blue state into a red state by making conditions very difficult or exacerbating already difficult positions, depending on how you want to look at the Flint situation, to push out Democrats, and in that case for Flint, bring the city below 100,000 so that they can deincorporate Flint, which is one of the hubs besides Detroit for Democratic voters. And if you get someone like that can come in, you can cut that entire strategy in half, which they've been pushing. And then it goes from, hey, a lot of people died or were displaced, to make the city red, to, hey, we failed, and our only the only impact we had was making the economy of the state worse and killing and displacing people.
I want to shine a spotlight on this because you bring up Rick Snyder. Snyder is incredibly unpopular in Michigan. He was incredibly unpopular even when he was able to get reelected the last time. And one of the things that makes him so unpopular, you mentioned Flint, that comes from a law that exists in Michigan. It's the only state in the country to have a law like this, and that is the emergency manager law. The governor in the state of Michigan can declare a municipality or township financially insolvent, dissolve all of the elected officials of that township or municipality, and install a city manager at the discretion of the governor.
Isn't that the same way they install a dictator?
Yeah, it's essentially what it is. It's an entirely undemocratic law. Hey, you people of this township, all of the people you actually voted for, we don't like the job they're doing, and we're going to do it different. You don't have a say. That's exactly what it is. And what happens is they gut infrastructure and they try to recoup costs by not spending. It happened in Benton Harbor, and in this case of Flint, it was switching from the Flint River to the Detroit River.
Yeah, and we also have to remember, too, at one point the state of Michigan was a huge hub of industry, of jobs, where people can actually live the American dream. I remember seeing this one interesting documentary, and I've been meaning to share it with you guys for a long time, but I'll go into more details about it later. But it's very important to note that during a certain point in time in American history, a person in the state of Michigan can work one job and provide for his or her entire family, make sure they have vacation time, health care with benefits, 2 cars, a picket fence, everything. The American dream.
As a Republican today, that sounds entirely unsustainable. That could never be done in America.
Yeah, well, you know what? In this day and age now, and hopefully this is a chance where the voters of the state of Michigan can actually step up. Look, I keep saying this time and time again. The only way there's going to be change is if we, as citizens, step up. We are the ones that have power. We have to remember that these elected officials, whether they are governors, senators, representatives, commissioners, or aldermen, they are public servants, okay? They are public servants, which means that they work for us, not the other way around. It's up to us to hold them accountable. And if they fail their jobs, guess what? We vote them out. So is there any other details about this governor candidate in regards to his policies or issues?
Yeah, I just wanted to give the names of his opponents and some of the big platform positions he's on. So you mentioned single-payer Medicare for all style policies. He wants to do that for the state of Michigan. He wants to do a statewide single-payer plan. So his opponents right now, former Michigan Democratic Senate leader Gretchen Whitmer is in the lead in the primary right now with 39% of the vote, according to a recent poll. And then the self-funded businessman Sri Thanadar, who's sort of the fake progressive in the race, is at 17%, and Al Sayed trails at 12 at the moment.
All right.
But still some time in the race, and I'm a fan of Al Sayed.
Bigger jumps have been made, though it is, making up 3 times the polling you have is a lot, but and again, most of it turns out always comes down to name recognition.
Yeah.
And so if Bernie Sanders can kind of light that fire with Alexandria lighting that fire as well, with the amount of time, it's not unthinkable that he could pull ahead of everyone.
Well, a third of the voters say they're undecided.
Yeah, so
there's a pool.
So it could be done. It can be done. We've seen stranger things. Let's remember, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was written off. No one considered that she would win, but guess what happened? She won, and she knocked out the establishment candidate, who was also the hand-picked successor to Nancy Pelosi. So there we go.
I think one thing that I'm curious, I know it's not in this article, but would be interesting to know is what is the corporate media press coverage percentile for the 3 candidates?
I was in Michigan last month, and I can say I saw advertisements for Sri Thanadar. I can't say that I didn't watch a lot of television, but I can't say that I saw any advertisements either for Whitmer or for Al Sayed. I do remember seeing one for Thanadar, and I was like, this guy.